Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Tuesday, September 3rd, around 9 p.m. Mountain Time, 2024. A large magnitude 5 earthquake occurring at Bárðarbunga with at least a dozen aftershocks. Should we be worried? Keep calm. It's boom time. A major update coming out of Ranchos Palos Verdes in California. This is the city we reported on a month or so ago that is slowly sliding off a cliff. They're now cutting power to 100 citizens for maybe weeks or forever as their homes continue to slide into the ocean. Take a look at the update.
Worsening landslides in Southern California have forced crews there to shut off power for more than 100 homes. This is in a city just outside of Los Angeles. Officials say dozens of homes could be without power for 3 weeks, with some being in the dark indefinitely. CBS News national correspondent Jonathan Vigliotti is following this for us from Ranchos Palos Verdes. Jonathan, show us what you're seeing and why crews are purposefully shutting off power. The scene kind of tells the story.
Yeah, the power turned off because of the threat of fire. Before I elaborate on that, I want to give you some context. You see the home behind me. You'll understand what's happening here once I describe this kind of landslide. Because I don't know about you, Errol, but when I think of a landslide, I think about a mountainside giving way, sending mud and dirt crashing into homes. That's not what's happening here. In this case, we're talking about a subterranean landslide, so about 150 feet beneath where I'm standing, you have a layer of soil that is slowly moving. Historically, it has moved about 2 inches every single month, but because of all the atmospheric rivers we've experienced over the past 2 years, we've had this influx of water that has now exacerbated that movement. Geologists saying as much as 4 feet now moving every single month. So when you have that subterranean layer moving, you have the surface area with homes caving in, almost like a sinkhole, or if you think of a souffle being deflated. And that's what you're seeing here. This home has caved in on itself. Believe it or not, this was elevated just last year when we were here, about 10 feet higher, but the soil has given in, sending this home crashing. And around this community, easily dozens of homes that look like this. The street has been blocked off here. That power has been turned off. 140 people without power right now, and for good reason, because last week a fire was sparked. And fires are the big concern moving forward, with the land moving, power lines breaking. And you said it, about 140 residents without power for 3 weeks, others indefinitely.
Well, as you heard it, there is no quick fix to the area. It is a complete and total loss. Eventually, all these homes will be destroyed. Maybe some above the slide area will remain, but they will be on a cliff with a bunch of debris. I mean, it's just a nightmare for the people that decided to live in this area. It was an area that was moving prior to Hunga Tunga's eruption. It was moving a few inches per year, but after those atmospheric rivers started coming in over the last 2 years, it is now moving up to 4 feet a month. And our hearts and prayers go out to those affected. And be safe. Storm Tracker National Hurricane Center is tracking 3 storms in the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. Less than a 45% chance that the storms will develop, but one of them seems to be holding on, and one of these two is going to be barreling towards the U.S. in just a few weeks. This system seems to be petering out, and there's nothing much to worry about. Here's a look at the tropics, and I'm just going to run it through the rest of the week here, Friday, Saturday, till September 7th. You can see this tropical system is going to move across the Yucatan, gain strength here, and barrel up into Baja there. So there's the re-strengthening, little development, and it's going to move up towards Baja. Nothing else coming in the tropics through next weekend, Friday, Saturday of next weekend. And it's going to be a very slow weather day for the U.S. all next week, which is good news. There's that hurricane coming into the picture from the right side of the screen here on the September 15th, 16th, 17th, as it moves towards the U.S. This is very far out on the models and may not hold true, but we're keeping a close eye on the tropics for you. Now a quick look at the entire country here. We'll move it through. Here is Wednesday, very quiet day across the U.S., just some rain down there in Louisiana, maybe in eastern Texas. Thursday, Rain in the same area with some severe weather popping up Thursday afternoon for the southern states there. You can see Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi all are going to be affected there as the severe weather lasts through Friday and Saturday. And by the end of the weekend here, Sunday and into Monday, all the weather's going to push out and it's going to be very quiet. Look at this, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Almost nothing going on in the U.S. here. All the way through the weekend. Friday, Saturday, we could see some severe weather moving up into the Delmarva and the East Coast there. And now the full forecast. Heavy to excessive rainfall over portions of Texas, the nexus of the Schmexis. Excessive heat across the southwest U.S. by midweek. What a tweak. Thunderstorms will continue to produce locally heavy rainfall that may lead to some scattered flash flooding in central Texas and parts of the Texas Gulf Coast today, where a slight risk of excessive rainfall is in effect. Excessive heat is forecast to impact the southwest U.S. and parts of California Wednesday to Friday. Excessive heat watches and warnings and heat advisories have been issued. So click on your county for more information. As the UK's coolest summer since 2015 comes to a close, the UK was still fear-mongering all summer about global warming and climate change. The first significant snows are forecast for the Alps, and 150 years of Antarctic ice reveals a decline in wildfires since 1920, which is what we've been saying for over a decade. Seismic update. Most recent quake just kicked off in Vanuatu at 100 kilometers depth. Almost no one felt that. Some increased activity in Hawaii. We've got a big rumbler, a 5 magnitude in Humph, Iceland. That's the Bárðarbunga boom. Quake of note in Georgia. A 2.5 near Tunnel Hill, Georgia. Very interesting quake going on there. Maybe they're digging in a tunnel, perhaps. And in fact, there was an earthquake with a magnitude 5 in Bárðarbunga Volcano today. This was followed by a few smaller earthquakes, and there has been increased minor activity at Bárðarbunga in recent days, as well as some outwash floods here. We had some jokulips, could be from Grimsvötn, though. And that's what many people have speculated. But this activity does not necessarily mean that an eruption is imminent in Bárðarbunga, but anything is possible. And Bárðarbunga kicks off about 2 5 magnitudes annually. There we can see that activity on the Vatnajökull. We'll bring you over there live to the Vatnajökull map, and you can see the clustering of earthquakes there. Not really significant enough to claim that this is magma emplacement. This is more like drop down, collapse, or settling from the last major eruption at Bárðarbunga. Speaking of eruptions, let's take a look at the live stream going on here over at Iceland in the second week of the eruption. It is now a spectacular spatter cone, concentrating most of the activity in one single area, like the initial eruption had Bob. Remember that? How do you like them apples? Take a look at the thermal here. Pretty fantastic. Lots of great coverage coming from Iceland in the second week of the eruption. And we do have some seismic activity over at Bárðarbunga, getting spicy on the icy island of Iceland. Worldwide volcano news. White Island puffing and passing. Shivalush to 16,000 foot. Kikai volcano eruption to 5,000 foot today. Take a look, the explosive eruption over at Shivalush continuing throughout the day with moderate eruptive period continuing. Oh, a little puff. Santa Huito in Guatemala eruptions continue with glowing lava blocks detaching from a lava dome. Semaru, who knew, now you do, puffing and passing today with Ibu to 8,000 feet, Popo to 21,000. Liwa Toby on the list, Fuego as well. Nevado de Ruiz for 24,000 foot puff. Sabakai to 22,000 foot, White Island an 8,000 foot puff. Swanosima, 4,000 foot puff there, low level. Karimsky, possible eruption to 9,000 foot. Ibu, 8,000. Shivalush on the list. Here we can see some Shivalush thermal imagery of the southwest lava dome captured via satellite imagery. Dukono to 8,000 feet. Swanosima, 7,000 foot puff. Semaru coming in again today with Popo to 20,000 feet. Ibu to 8,000, Fuego to 15, White Island, more low-level eruption happening there. Thank God they closed that place. Sabancay to 24,000 foot Karimsky. Explosive activity continuing there to 9,000 feet. Swanosima to 6. Whew, and that wraps up the list for September 3rd. Space weather news, last 24 hours, low-level M flares, nothing significant, no CMEs headed our way. 3-day geomagnetic forecast, all quiet across the western front. But there was a large coronal mass ejection visible this morning in the latest imagery, courtesy of LASCO. Appears to be related to a far-side event well beyond the northwest limb and is directed directly away from Earth, which is good news for the grid. Speaking of the grid, we've got some amazing stuff to share with you in just a moment, so buckle up. Everything to know about the Ring of Fire eclipse and the best places and times to view it. Do you know that a Ring of Fire eclipse is about to happen? Also known as an annular solar eclipse. It's a month away, and although Hawaii is the only U.S. state that will be within the partial path of viewing, parts of Chile and Argentina will see the entire eclipse, while other South American countries will also be in the partial or full path. An annular solar eclipse will occur in October, and it is also called a Ring of Fire eclipse because it happens when the moon passes between the sun and Earth, but does not completely obscure the sun, as will be the case for this Ring of Fire eclipse. It will be visible. When is it going to happen? Well, Wednesday, October 2nd. It occurs in phases. At 11:42 a.m. EDT will be a partial eclipse. 12:50 EDT, the annual solar eclipse begins in the South Pacific Ocean, and you get the rest. The full and partial eclipse will be visible from Hawaii, including, but not limited to, Hilo, Honolulu, Kona, and Waialuku, as well as Waipahu. Say that 5 times fast. Full and partial eclipse will also be witnessed in Puerto Deseando, Santa Cruz in Argentina, Puerto San Julian in Santa Cruz, Argentina, Easter Island off the coast of Chile, Chile Chico, General Carrera in Chile, Santa Julia et Petorca in Chile, and Cochrane at the Capitan Prat in Chile. Partial eclipse only at Asunción in Paraguay, Buenos Aires in Argentina, Montevida in Uruguay, Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, Apia in Samoa, Pago, American Samoa, Nuku Alofa in Tonga, Patiti in Tahiti, Suva in Fiji, Santiago in Chile, and finally Stanley in the Falklands. So, everyone gets to see an eclipse at some point in their life. Jupiter's moon, Ganymede, was struck by an asteroid bigger than the dino-killing rock, which was about 10 miles wide. How do you like them apples? The impact may have caused the largest moon in our solar system to swing on its axis, according to scientists. The paper coming out just today. Giant impact on early Ganymede and its subsequent reorientation will be provided below free of charge in its entirety. In the description box. Go get it. Another paper coming out May of this year, shared with Leah and sent to me via email this morning. Absolutely fascinating. We've got archaeological sites that are 7,259 years old that are dated to a specific year, and that's thanks to tree ring data and Miyake events. The paper, Absolute Dating of the European Neolithic using 5259 BC Rapid Carbon-14 Excursion, i.e. a Miyake event in the wood, was able to date a specific archaeological layer to the year. Absolutely fantastic. And that gives higher resolution to everything below and above that zone. And this is all care of some fantastic live wood in a forest preserved in a bog right here. You're looking at those dead trees and that wood that is 7,200 years old to the date. Absolutely fantastic. The paper will be linked below, and Leah and I will probably talk about it this weekend on our radio show on Revolution Radio. A lot of people have heard that humans' footprints and dinosaur footprints are located in the same strata, touching each other, in fact, in some cases. I've heard this and I've always dismissed it, but again, someone sent me some information about it, so I looked into it. And in fact, this has been debunked completely years ago. And I'm going to link you to the paper here, just 4 pages long. Did humans live with dinosaurs? Excavating man tracks along the Paluxy River. Now, it is creation geologists and creationists that are purporting these footprints of humans next to dinosaurs. But when you look at the sample, it looks extremely fake. I've seen lots of pterosaur and 3-toed dinosaur footprints in the field because I lived in the Triassic Basin my entire life and I was fascinated by paleontology and geology. I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was 8 years old and obsessed with it by the time I was 12 years old. And guess what? I actually became a paleontologist. Can you even believe it? Well, I do digress, but the paper here shows that they're frauds, they're charlatans. Here's one of their human footprints in reality. Here is another human footprint they're claiming right here in reality in these dinosaur footprint-bearing rocks. Here is what they claim is another footprint, and the picture that shows a 3-toed dinosaur with a human footprint next to it is a fraud that they carved, and no one has been able to inspect the specimen. So don't believe everything you hear on the internets, but certainly believe an objective opinion from a scientist, especially a paleontologist that worked in the field for over a decade, like me. Now we're going to share with you some interesting material coming from the government, a white paper on the implementation status of the National Space Weather Strategy and Action Plan, January 2023. It talks about space weather operations, research, and mitigation, and that the government is well aware that the shit is about to hit the fan, and that they are wholly unprepared. December of 2023, just 9 months ago, the final presidential executive office version was created, implementation plan of the National Space Weather Strategy and Action Plan, a report by Space Weather Operations Research and Mitigation Subcommittee, the Committee on Homeland and National Security of the National Science and Technology Council. We're going to leave you the 17-page PDF below for free for your perusal. And there's only a few pages of interesting information, but they're well aware that the grid is at risk and that humanity is at risk. And they're trying to save their ass and their infrastructure, and they could care less about you. They do have some plans to maybe coddle the masses if something major happens, but they're worried about infrastructure, security, and themselves far before humanity. Well, what else did you think? You thought the government was coming to save you? Now, who was the Nashville shooter, Audrey Hale? We all watched her get murdered live on air because she was doing very bad things and deserved it. She was shooting children at a Christian school. You remember that? It was the Covenant School in Nashville. In fact, she was named and crowned the Nashville shooter. But this transgender psychopath had deep-seated mental health issues that could have been addressed, and they weren't. She was in mental care facilities for 20 years or therapy at some point, and then they decided to inject her with hormones to make her a boy. Boy, did that go well. If they had just looked at her notebook that she carried around for a decade and even was found on her person at the time of her death, they might have gleaned some information. And many people may have seen this and did nothing. It's one story after another. They want gun control issues, but legal gun owners are not the problem. It's psychopathic gun owners, especially with mental illnesses, that people know about for years and do nothing. Well, the manifesto was dropped this morning. It might be illegal. People may get sued, but this information should have come out a year ago after she was taken out so that we can get some better information on why these psychopaths kill people. And so we're going to link you the entire Audrey Hale notebook, and it reveals what a disturbed human being She was. The entire book here in all PDF will be linked below, and it goes all the way to the day of the shooting, death day, 3/27/23. Now, this is a year and a half ago, for goodness sakes, and this is finally coming to light. Today is the day. The day has finally come. I can't believe it's here. Don't know how I was able to get this far, but here I am. I'm a little nervous, but excited too. Been excited for the past 2 weeks. There was several times I could have been caught, especially back in the summer of 2021. None of that matters now. I'm almost an hour and 7 minutes away. Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. What a sicko. You want to know who else is sick? The entire conglomerate of multinational corporations that are feeding you poison. Everything in the supermarket is either coated with pesticides or made with pesticides in them and ultra-processed to your delight. You want to know why there's increased celiac disease, cancers, autism, and everything else? It has to do with increased Jaboriginals and the food we eat and the water we drink. It's polluted with PFAS. Lee and I did a documentary and a full expose at Magnetic Reversal News that's going to be linked after this video on the contamination, PFAS contamination, and how the elites and these multinational corporations like 3M, DuPont, all knew what they were doing the whole time, and they have polluted the world forever. And the first and foremost is Monsanto, that created PCBs. They were the first to create a chemical that polluted the earth forever, and one that was carcinogenic and bioaccumulates in your fat. Well, now it's PFAS. It's in all the water, all rainwater, every drop of water in the entire world. And 3M and DuPont knew it was a pollutant, toxic and carcinogenic, and they dumped it into lakes, rivers, and oceans anyway. That's how disgusting these people are. Well, guess what they do? Sue us. And that's what happened, and they're paying. A class action suit was just settled for $10 to $12.5 billion to account for new testing and additional settlements depending on whether new contamination of PFAS is found. The deal calls for payments to be made over 13 years, and because they make 10 times that annually, paying a $13 billion settlement is nothing, and they will continue to poison the earth until we put an end to this. The way we do that is to get Robert Kennedy in charge of the FDA and EPA. And the only way to do that is to vote with your mind and critical thinking and put Trump into office. Period. You can also prevent toxic contaminants on your food by growing your own. All the food, even organic produce, is covered in up to 200 to 300 pesticides and herbicides, fungicides, all of which have been shown to cause cancer. Some of them are extremely dangerous. And unless you properly wash, soak, or rinse your produce, this is all going to be on it. And non-conventional, non-organic produce, conventional produce, is the most egregious. So growing your own food is a no-brainer. Chemical-free food is worth its weight in gold. There is no fruit in the supermarket that doesn't have 20 to 50 chemicals on it, even organic, and no produce. None of it is safe, and none of it has nutrients. The moment you pick a spinach leaf, it has 100% of its vitamin C. 12 hours later, it's down to 50%. The next day, a week later, 0. So all the produce you're buying, all the lettuce, all the leafy greens in the supermarket have no nutrients. They might look delicious, taste good, but they are weeks old and have no nutritional benefit whatsoever. Maybe the fiber. So unless you're growing your own food today, buying from a farmer's market locally, you're really not getting the nutrition that humans need, that we've always had, because we were agrarian 100 years ago. Everyone grew their own nutrient-dense food for free. The whole concept of buying vegetables in a market was stupid. Why would I do that when I can do it for free in my backyard? Join the Alliance of Native Seed Keepers. Get the cheapest seeds on earth, $2 per pack. If you buy more than $25 worth, it's free shipping. Add our coupon code, ORP2024, an additional 10% off. And that's a boom to knowledge. Please share the video. We implore you to grow your own food, support your preparedness, your peace of mind, and the channel at the same time. And get off the supermarket. It is poisoning you. Be safe. We love you. And we'll see you at Crestone.